judgment here, just a friendly ear. Tune in every day, bring your worries near. Life Couch Show, let the heartbeats flow. With AD we heal and grow. Life on the couch with AD. Talk it all out, set your mind free. Life on the couch, stories we share. Fady's there.
Hello everyone and welcome to Life Couch with Fady. On this show, we will be talking about life issues, things that happen to the everyday people. It happens to you, it happens to me, but a lot of times we don't want to talk about it. This is a safe zone where we say it as is, and it's a zone or a place where we do not judge. We hope that you will be able to, pick one or two things, learn from the things that we talk about every day, and also share we want to hear from you as well. We hope that you share. We hope, it'll be a conversation on this page. This is the first episode, and we thought that it would be nice that I talk a little bit about myself and let you know why I'm doing this. So I am a human resources professional. I also am a singer and a songwriter. If I will take a step back to my childhood, I would say I had an okay childhood. There were times, where I had fun, at school and stuff. I enjoyed my primary school, so that life was good. And then going on to secondary school. So, I had a good and pretty, I'd say, fast education. By 21, I was done and, going for youth service. And the next thing was to get a job. And about a year after that, I got a job. And I started working with Intercontinental Bank at the time. That was good as well. The experience was good. And why it's significant to me is while I was working with the bank was when I met my husband. And I remember that on the first day the first day I met him, a few days before I met him, I had heard about him, like the people I worked with were already talking about him, he's this, he's that, he's good, he's brilliant, and I was actually looking forward to this person. Who's this person that everyone's, talking so speaking so highly of, and when I eventually saw him, I'm like, okay, he was quiet, he has this calm demeanor, and those are the things that attracted me to him. And we hit it off. I remember that I had a conversation with him at the time. And what I thought that he said, later he said, that's not what he said. And what I thought that he said, because of that, I stopped talking to him for a while. And, later we got connected again. And anyway, long story short, we're married. And we have been married for 16 years. So why do I do this? A lot of times, just like I mentioned, people go through things they don't want to talk about. But sometimes when you hear other people's stories or you listen or hear other people's opinion about something you have been through or you're going through, right? And you can relate. You find that, these things happen to the best of us. Right? It gives you, it helps you, it encourages you, it lets you know that it's not the end of the world, right? That, it's not the end of you. I have had some experiences in life that have taught me, serious lessons about life. I have learned never to say never. I have learned not to judge people, Some of the things, for example, I remember while I worked at the bank, there were times that I heard rumors about myself or things I didn't even know about, and sometimes I hear rumors about people and I believe it, There's no confirmation, nothing. You just hear somebody say something and you form an impression about the person, right? When this happened to me, it just made me understand that you don't believe everything that you hear, except you experience it yourself. Something else I want to talk about is something that happened in my life that taught me humility. So like I said, my husband and I met at the bank. We were okay, financially and everything. And at the time, couples were not allowed to work at the bank. So he had to leave. When he left, he started something. He, partnered with someone, and they were doing something on their own, and they were doing pretty well. And life was, good for a while, until we had to make a tough decision where he had to leave that partnership. And he left with almost nothing, right? And things took a downturn. It was so bad that sometimes, it would be with, and at the time I also had to leave the bank because it was a lot of stress. So I had to leave the bank for a while, right? So things became really difficult. And at that time, I understood the importance of as little as 500 naira, which is at that time was about $5, right? It was important to me, and it made me understand the need. When someone says they're in need, I understand it. I also understand the fact that life is fickle. You have it today. It's only by the grace of God that it stays the same way. And I remember that we kept it, within ourselves. We never discussed this with anyone. But somehow God provided, when we had to meet expectations, external expectations, that is, God would provide. But we never had, these are difficult things that people go through. They never talk about. But you see people on the outside, sometimes you're judging them for this, maybe they're not making the payment, or, stuff. We don't know what people are going through. So that has taught me not to judge. Right? And relating that with what we're doing here and what we're talking about, just things that people go through that they are not comfortable to talk about. We want to talk about those things here, just so that you can relate and understand that it's not only you. There are other people going through this as well, right? I will also mention that in the past couple of years, I've learned never to say never. Right? Because sometimes you find yourself just at a place or somewhere you never expected, or you never expect yourself to ever be. And, right, usually it's difficult. And sometimes you're helpless. Sometimes, it's just tough. Some of those things have taught me. They have taught me not to judge people, not to say never. Yeah. And that's why I am here. That's why we're doing this today. That's why I wanted to create an atmosphere here where people come and, just listen to these things, and that you're not alone. Sometimes when you hear how people have grown from some of these things, it encourages you to let you know that it's not the end of the world. There's hope. There's room for change. God still loves you. Right? Yeah. And hopefully you're able to pick one or two things, learn how to maneuver your lives out of some of these issues that you find yourself in. So don't worry. This is not another couples show. I just thought that I would introduce myself and let you know a little bit about me. And that's why, and considering this is the first episode, that's why we're doing this today.
Hi, my name is Tolu. I'm originally from Nigeria. I am an IT, software developer is how I'll describe myself. I've done software development now for, about 15 years. I've moved away from doing software development full-time now. I kind of manage a team of developers presently. And that's me. My favorite food, it's interestingly bread. Maybe I'm boring, I don't know, but yeah. I met my wife at Intercontinental Bank. I was working at the head office, and she was working at one of the branches. And I had someone in her branch who was my friend, and we're together trying to kind of automate their manual process at the clearing section. Which I thought it was an interesting problem for me to kind of solve at the time. So I was trying to solve a problem, and then I found the wife. When I met her, the first time I met her was I went to visit my friend just so I could see that this problem that I'm trying to solve. And I met her, and she kind of walked up to me and kind of asked me where I was from. And I said, Ido sounded, maybe I have an accent there. So it sounded like, I don't know. And she thought I said, I don't know, but I'm actually from IDO. And so she stopped talking to me for so long until fate brought her back to head office to meet with me. It's fate because the events were kind of interesting. At the time, I was responsible for, long story short, sending people home because they haven't met targets. And then somehow she was sent home. I didn't do that, by the way. And of course, so this friend of mine who I was kind of heading her unit called me and said, hey, she was sent home. I'm like, okay, I'll ask her to come see me. And then she came and she saw me and we resolved it. And then we started talking again, right? So it's fate. I did not orchestrate that. It's just fate. At the time we started kind of talking, I think I've grown now. At that time, I'm someone who I kind of sit down and say, I want A, B, C, D in somebody, right, that I will be dating. I remember that when we first met, I asked, hey, in 5 years, what do you want to be? In this, what do you want to be? And she was like, God, this is too much. Just what do you want? But I think the biggest thing that attracted me to her was her heart, and it's not just her heart towards me. It's I look at her and how she relates with people, especially those who were, I'll say, I don't know, the right word would be working with her, cleaners in the office, her subordinates and things like that. And the way she related to them, I felt like she's got a good heart. So for me, that was the biggest thing. Yeah, good heart. Even though, I had a list. She would not answer my questions on those lists, but I mean, the good heart was bigger than all of those questions. So that's okay. How did I propose to her? After we started dating, she was like trying to, for some reason, maybe because of what she's been through and all of that. That's how I interpret it. Our motto at the time was trust but verify. So is this guy sincere? Is this, if I say A, she's trying to validate that my A is my A and this and that. At some point, I felt that was kind of too much for me. Particular story. I think the day that I thought, okay, you know what, we just go our separate ways. I had a friend who, an ex. I had an ex who was in the UK and then she came back into Nigeria. I went to the office, by the way. At this time, I think she'd also moved to the head office. So I went to the head office on a Saturday because I wanted to do something. I was supposed to be working, but this friend of mine called me and she was coming to the island, and I got to the office and left the office to go see her. Because I told her I was going to the office, she came to the office to confirm that I was at the office, and she got there and she called me from there and said, where are you? I'm like, I just left the office. I'm like, you told me you'd be at the office. And I'm like, okay, you're stalking me. I think we should just kind of go our separate ways. Yeah, so we went our separate ways.
Talking,
yeah. We went our separate ways for a bit. I think that was sometime in March. In May, I traveled with the bank. In May, actually, before that event happened, we were already planning that we're going to be together, we're going to get married. So I had decided I was going to leave the bank. And so when we went our separate ways, I still went ahead with my decision to leave the bank. All of that was emotion, so I wasn't going to stop. But I think my final thing leaving the bank was kind of a software upgrade that we're going to do. So I went to India in May. but I think just leaving the country and just being by myself and things like that got me thinking about who she was. And actually, sincerely, I think I was just thinking about my life and thinking about I wanted to get married. I mean, what's my option? And I think I came down to, you know what, I think she's this and that and all of the qualities that I really liked about her. So I made up my mind. Okay, by the way, my friend who was
My boss at
her boss at the time was
on the
also
trip.
on that trip with me. So maybe that was kind of why her name just kept popping up in my head continuously, because he won't let me be because of that. You know, so we was on that trip. I think we were on that trip for like 4 months. It was at that trip that I made up my mind that, look, I think I really like her. I think I'm in love with her. I'm going to go ahead. And so I called her. I think I called her or sent her a mail or something. I think I sent her a mail to say, hey, can you do ABCD for me? And then what's your shirt size? What's your this? And da. And coming back from that trip, I remember that I bought 2 boxes full of clothes for her.
No lie.
So I came back to Nigeria with 2 boxes of clothes. I took that to her and I said, okay, let's get married. So that's my story.
You can imagine someone comes with 2 boxes. How do you say no? Actually, I think he's summarized that story. After you came out with 2 boxes, because don't forget we were, we had split. Then after you came back with 2 boxes, we started, I don't know why I say 2 boxes. You came back from India, we started, the conversation. But I remember specifically, we were driving that day, I think we were around that Antony area, Ilupeju, I don't even remember. And he was like, let's take this further, let's get married. And I was like, are you sure? And he was like, yes. And I'm like, okay, come see my parents today. I was like, okay, let's go. There was no kneeling down or anything. I had to go get my ring myself, just to show people that. But he's a traditional type. There was no kneeling down, there was no soup or whatever. It was just, at the spot. I don't know what we were I don't remember what we were talking about before then. But yeah, that's. And then we went to see my parents that day.
Would I have done it all over again with her? Yes. Look, I think that I have 2 philosophies in life. One of them is that life is a wheel. Right? You've got ups, you've got downs, you've got ups, you've got downs. If you stay the down, you will get back to the up. That's my biggest philosophy. The second one, which I think I try to do that always, is that you're responsible for your reaction to what happens to you in life. If you learn that you're responsible for your reaction, you can't change what happens to you. You can't change what people do to you. You can't change all of those. But how you react to it is important. I think one thing I say to her always is enjoy the journey. It's going to get back to the good side. While you're down, enjoy that journey. Just make merry and all of that. Just know that I'm going back. It's the wheel of life. I'm down now. It's going to be up again. And I want to enjoy the down so that I can perfect the down so that when you get back up, you can kind of look back at it. So will I do this all over again? I'll tell you, I listen to Barack Obama a lot and Michelle. And one thing she said is they've had, I think, about 20 years of marriage now. And one thing she said is that she's had maybe 14 good years and 6 bad ones in, but she won't trade it for anything. I think that's my story too.
What has changed? Before I got married, the woman I was then, and what has changed now? Comparing that, now I can say that I'm grown. I feel like I am exploring my potential to the fullest. I feel like my real self, I'm at the point where I'm at my real self, where this is just me. Lots of experiences, like I mentioned, and those have chiseled my person right now. So everybody has a default personality and who they are, of which maybe those are some of the things that he saw then. But over time, life experiences to have, chiseled me out to be a different person. I'm still a worrywart, but I worry less. Mostly because you do your best, and sometimes the outcome is not up to you. And also, I've learned a lot from him. My husband does not worry. And when he worries, then be worried. There are times that we've been through stuff and I'm worried, I'm stressing him up and down. What do we do? What do we do? And he's calm. And 2 minutes after he puts his head on the bed, he's asleep and I'm angry. I'm like, is this guy not thinking about what I'm thinking about? But at the end of the day, it works out. So why did I worry? So I've learned some of those things from him, from life. Now I'm more patient than I used to be. I'm more understanding. I make excuses for people. And like I said this earlier, I said I never say never. I try not to judge people. Even if, as human beings, it comes. I used to be a Georgina. In fact, my name was Faye Georgina Fagbamila. But now, I don't judge people. I don't. If I haven't walked in your shoes, and you can never walk in a person's shoes, you might go through the same thing, but situation and circumstance will be different. So, yeah, I'd say I'm more mature, I'm more outspoken. I'm still very shy, but I know how to cover it up. I used to be very shy. Now I let you know how I'm feeling, except, I just choose to let it go. I'm more vocal. I'm my person. I think I'm not sure that I can evolve more than I have evolved, or more than what I am right now. Yeah, I've blossomed to who I think I should be. Yeah, I hope that message, I don't know, I hope it makes sense.
What has marriage done to me? If I look back, I think I also got married just thinking that it's the next thing to do. I've met someone that I love and things like that. What has marriage done to me? I think with the biggest thing for me, I think recently I was thinking about marriage and all of that, and I said to myself, it's what we don't tell ourselves when we're getting married is that marriage is boring. But recently I've come to say it's boring because it's supposed to be fruitful. Everything in life that leads to something very fruitful is boring. School is boring. I really didn't like school. Marriage is boring, but the streets, if you don't do marriage, you are in the street. The streets might be interesting, but it doesn't yield anything, right? So I think I say that to say what I've learned in marriage is that you have to put in the work. I went into marriage and I thought we're two good people and all of that. Yes, it's important to marry a good person. I feel like in marriage, if you marry a good person, then you have to put in the work to make it work. But if you marry a bad person, it's doomed from the beginning. So yes, it's good to marry a good person. So, but I think I've learned that it's not just enough to be good. You have to kind of put in the work as well to make it work. What has it done to me? I've grown too. Like I've never been one who judge. We've got someone who do it for both of us. So I don't judge. But yeah. But I've also come to kind of give people some slack, right? I found that when we got married, I was kind of like either it's black or white. Now I've learned that there's a whole lot of gray in between that, right? Yeah. So I've grown. And now when I talk to people, I kind of think about how can I be gentle. And when I say gentle, like I'm someone who, when you tell me things that I have in my head, does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, I'm like, what is wrong here? Now I kind of take a step back and try to understand people and, okay, if it doesn't make sense today, maybe it will make sense tomorrow. Kind of just give them some slack and things like that.
By the way, that's one thing that used to annoy me. Like, if it doesn't make sense to him, it's not right. Meanwhile, it's, like, there's a whole lot of gray. Yeah.
No, okay. like I say, I've grown in that
I
perspective.
hear you.
But here's something, right? Maybe it's the excuse that I give to myself always is I expect that it's either A, B, C, or D, right? When you do things, and I tell myself always that in between that, it's the whole extreme, the whole excuse that I can make for people. I make a lot of excuse for people, right? But if it doesn't fall into all of those buckets of excuses, I'm like, okay, so then what is
Where
it, right?
does it fall?
I think what I've done now is to say, okay, my bucket of excuses is not exhaustive, so there could be others.
Yeah. So for me, the most I've had about 2 or 3 of those. Let's say 3. One I already mentioned when we had the financial crisis. It was like a place I had never been, and I never thought that we would be. Yeah, so that was the first, but we pulled through. The second time was when we had been waiting for a baby for 5 years, and eventually I took in. This is emotional. I will get emotional. And I lost the baby at 32 weeks after we had named we had prepared, bought everything a baby would need. The baby already had a name and everything. I don't know if any time could be more difficult than that for me ever in life, because it was. So because I had a difficult time through the pregnancy, early times I was sick towards the end. Then I got better a little bit, maybe 5-6 months. And then towards the end, I was sick. Every day I thought I would die, but what kept me going on was, okay, at least I'm having a baby. And then at the end of 32 weeks, stillbirth. And I had to go through labor. Because the doctor didn't want to cut me since it wasn't a live baby. He just thought there was no need to have a cut, have a scar, and I had to leave church because I was supposed to be on bed rest. So I was on bed rest for like 3 months or whatever. But I had to leave church, and everybody knew I was pregnant, coming back with expectation. So it was, for me, shame. And it was a lot of questioning God. Why did you give me this child when you knew the child would not stay? Why did I have to go through this? It was like going through a journey that had no end. And at the end of the day, putting everything, you fell back into a pit. So that's about for me, that was the most difficult time for me. Recently I've had some difficult times, but I'll skip that. And, those have taught me to, that when I was saying that I've learned not to judge, and just be patient. Sometimes, take a step back, retreat. Yeah. So, yeah. But I don't think anything could be more difficult than the time I lost a baby.
Yeah, I think the most challenging for me would be both of those times that she's described. It's the first one was more. Interestingly, they're not far apart. Those were, so it's kind of like like I say, it's the wheel of life. It's kind of like we're kind of like at the bottom at that time. We had the financial one was an interesting one. Maybe I can maybe a bit more details as to what happened at that time. I'd left the bank. We started a partnership, and that we were doing really well. But we then decided that we're going to do a deal. Okay, by the way, we're software guys, right? We do softwares and all of that. But if you do software, for you, your investment is your brain, like you're kind of building things and selling. We then decided, because we got a deal that we thought, this was going to make us 200 million naira at that time. We went into a hardware deal. We bought that, and it tanked. We were in debts of over 200 million. So we're selling everything. Sold all our Intercontinental shares, sold all of those things to start paying back the debts and all of that. And in about 3-year period, right? We paid up that debt in about 3 years. By the way, at that time, we're kind of just scrambling through and all of that. But we paid off that debt in about 3.5 years. But the interesting part was the last 5 million that we were going to pay. I thought we were paying, but my partner decided that money was, that he wanted to spend it on his family without telling me. And because of that, things happened, and I just thought that, I was going to leave the partnership because I couldn't trust going forward. And interestingly, I decided I was leaving the partnership without taking anything. So I left. I didn't take anything out of that partnership. I left and I went back home. Now, just before then, we had decided that she should leave the bank because we were trying for a baby. So we thought it was stressful. So you leave the bank because at the time I was doing okay, so she could do that, right? So we left, and then she wasn't working. I left the partnership, and we're back in a hole. I think it was. So I left. I didn't live with anything. I then I decided that I wasn't going to get a job. I was still going to kind of do things on my own. So it was kind of starting all over again, kind of like you said, right? And so started like, okay, let me go do something. And then we started doing that. That period was interesting. It was really down. There are days that I thought I could have, we finished paying, but we still have some land somewhere. We could have taken a land somewhere, so sell the land. But anyway, I think we scrambled through. I think the biggest thing is, if you look back, it's not always as bad as it seems. Like I think that's the biggest thing throughout that period. Yes, there are days that we'll be like, oh, no, we don't have anything, and then they'll tell us that, oh, you need to pay 2 million naira for a vacation in July. And we scramble together and put 2 million naira together, and we still go for the vacation. So, just looking back now, things are never as bad as they seem. So if you always kind of take a step back and look at the positives always. But I look at, when we're going through this, I didn't look at the positive as well. So it's fair if you say that you're not going to look at the positive. So we came through that. Well, maybe we're still in that. Then she got pregnant. We had one hospital that we're using. We thought everything was going well, and then we're advised to use someone who was better at this and more matured and all of that. And this still happened. I remember that I kind of lost the zeal for work that period. Like I had a contract. Okay, but I had a contract with a UK company that come to Nigeria and wanted to partner with me. So I had a contract with them at that time. And we're doing terminals for Diamond Bank. I was kind of leading that. That project failed. So I don't know. I think that's kind of like it
was a tough time.
The toughest times that we had.
I just wanted to say that those days, because I saw the way you were working, you would go work overnight, 2 days, not come back. And, some of those contracts, they wouldn't pay, and all. And sometimes I felt a lot of pity. Like, I felt so bad. I was like, God, just, the way he's working, I just needed to bless this man. Because you could see he had the brains, he had the zeal, he was working, he was hardworking, he wasn't lazy, right? So that even hurt me more. Like when you're working and you're not getting, the fruit of that labor, And I just wanted to chip that in. Yeah.
Sometimes that were really good. I think the biggest happiness for me is when she's happy. I think that's kind of one thing that I've learned is how you ask yourself, what's my purpose in life? My purpose is to make her happy. I think that's kind of what I tell myself. I'm a homebody. Like going out does not interest me. Like all of that, I just want to sit at home and do my own thing. And so happiness for me is seeing her happy. And it's been early on, even before we got married. I remember before we got married, we started working together at the head office. And then this fancy restaurant started, Barcelos, and I sent her breakfast in the morning. Now, breakfast is an interesting English breakfast, like all of the elaborations in everything that was sent in. The guy had sent to take breakfast in. I'm waiting for him to come back and tell me what happened in the banking hall, because everybody is shouting in the banking hall and So that was kind of interesting. I thought that was really, really very fun times, right? Yeah. And then there have been times when we went to the US, when we went to the UK. I thought that was interesting as well. So we've been...
Okay. a time that I said that I know that both of us were truly happy was when we got a go ahead for Canadian visa. Just because it had been a struggle, one way or the other. And those days when you applied, it used to take 10 years, take 5 years, and you were one of the last of that set. So it actually took us 10 years. And when eventually, I remember I was, he just called me daddy and said, oh, they said to go do medicals or something, or go get, and I was so happy. And then you came home, you were so happy, just because we were just getting out of that time where, things were tough. And at that time, I think Anna had just lost the baby as well. So I lost another pregnancy after that. So depression was beginning to set in for me, like I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I was confused, and stuff. And then this came. So it was like a second chance, and we were truly, truly happy, right? Some other time I would say was when you got your first job in Canada. Because my husband was, he applied 1 million jobs. Like he just didn't like the way he was sitting down doing nothing. So he kept applying and applying. He got interviews, but sometimes they wouldn't call him back. But when he got the first job, we were both happy. Number one, where we landed at that time, we wanted to leave, and that made that happen. We had to move down to Calgary. So, yeah, and then, just being active, beginning to use your brain all over again, and stuff like that. So that was another time that I know that we were really happy. I'll say savory. Taiwo savory.
Yeah, I think so. I think for you too. I was almost going with sweet, but yes.
I can't even think of anything. I don't think we've done crazy things. First time I met Taiwo, I thought he was good looking, calm, intelligent. Yeah, and I thought he was rude.
I think my first impression of her definitely was that she was beautiful. That was definitely my first impression. And I thought also, well, much later, I thought that she was really kind-hearted, snobbish, but kind-hearted. Yeah. Oh, and opinionated, highly opinionated.
First impression.
Yeah.
Okay. I think sometimes he gets really engrossed in whatever he's doing, and maybe when you're talking to him, you have to get him out of. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I have to. I always feel like he's not listening, right? I don't know if this is a good one. Like if he's not in the zone, you have to bring him, especially if he's working and you want him to listen. Like he's engrossed in whatever he's doing. You have to. I hear this is general about men. I don't know if it's a thing. Like they can't compartmentalize. Right? So I feel sometimes you should be able to do two things at the same time. Listen to me and do whatever it is you're doing.
Maybe it's true for every man, but maybe it's worse for me, right? I do software development, and as a software developer, really, what we say to ourselves always is, even for you to leave that particular one and do the same thing, the same software development, you are changing context. It takes a while for you to kind of change. So it's possible that it's because of what I do, right? Maybe that's why that is. No excuse, but yeah. It's interesting. One habit that I will change. What I was going to say was actually close to what she said, so I have to look for something else. I was going to say, what I was originally going to say is, before you snap at me not listening, please just take it easy and listen. Maybe I'm truly listening. I think she's maybe over time she's thought that I'm not listening, so she will jump into, hey, are you not listening? And then she'll snap, right? So maybe that's the same thing. So maybe that's what I'll say. It's most times I might actually be listening. Just give me time to respond to you. Maybe it's just I heard you, but I need to kind of close this chapter and come back to you. So just kind of take it easy and wait for me to come to there.
You guys are really made for each other. That's what I was saying. Okay.
I was going to say you. But
I thought that was a no-brainer.
No, but so I was going to say you really. But I think it's her. I hardly fall sick. She's had more of that than me, and yeah, I think you are. It's her. It's her. The best
hair.
maybe it's you.
I think you have good hair too.
Yeah, but I don't know who. But
I think we both have good hair.
Who said I love you first?
I did. No, I did. Jeez.
Is that you?
It's hard. It's like a clockwork. You have to kind of plan for like 2 hours if you.
Christmas, I'll say. Christmas.
Her favorite holiday?
Yeah.
I think it's Christmas too. I know she likes Easter, but I think it's Christmas. That's a tough one. The food that she hates. It's interesting. You don't hate Eba. Like, okay, maybe that's what I would say. I really like Eba, right? She's indifferent to Eba.
What food does she really like, but you don't like?
Yam. That one is straight. It's easy. Yam. Will Smith. Will Smith.
What about you? What's
Angelina Jolie.
okay? So
Yeah. So who cooks best? It keeps changing. I think it's the phases of life. Before now, it would be her, but if you ask now, that would be me.
Can you make jollof rice?
Of course, I can.
Fried rice the way I make it? Okay.
I'm not going to make it, just so you know.
Because I was going to say this week you're making it. Yeah. So initially, I'd say I would have said it confidently, right? With a lot of confidence. But now, I don't know. We might be at par. It can never be better than me. We'll be at par.
who smells the most?
Who does what?
Who smells the most?
Oh, it's me.
I just like you're so
Yeah.
honest. Like,
Because one day I recorded him. I just wanted him to hear himself.
Too poor dancers, but it's the blind leading the blind, but it will be her.
Thank you. Me, obviously. Me, obviously.
Obviously. Okay.
Oh, you don't agree?
No, I don't. I honestly don't agree.
You
but
think you're more romantic than I am?
okay, we'll give it to you. Just pizza.
Or pizza for me.
Calling for me.
Calling for me as well.
Love.
Love.
Savory.
Savory for me too. Planning.
All day, every day, planning. Eating in for me.
In for me as well.
Really? I'm surprised. Actually.
Well, recently, just because I've been busy, busier than I've always been. Yeah, sometimes I encourage us to eat out, but I'd rather eat in.
Documentary for me.
Movie for me. That's how I unwind.
Coffee.
Tea. All right. Thank you so much for sticking with us through this episode. I hope you had fun learning about me and learning about my husband. Like I mentioned, this is a fun episode. It's the premiere episode, and I thought that it would be nice that you learn about me. We will be talking about life issues. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you have comments or you want to learn more about us, please put it in the comment section. We hope to see you. We hope to what?
Bring more, invite people and share.
Okay. So we will be inviting more people. I will be inviting more people, and we'll be discussing issues of life, remember. And there'll be something for you to take home. Like, subscribe, share. Click the bell button for notifications as well. All right, until next time. Thank you and bye.
On the couch, stories we shared.